Hey guys, I'm continuing on with the Philco 3810 restoration. If you recall in part 1, I got a recap, replaced resistors, and did a first power up, and just got a little crackling out of the speaker, no reception. So I figure a good place to start is with checking the tubes. So I've got all 5 laid out here. I think the output tube and the rectifier are going to be fine. These guys, I don't know. This is my number one suspect right now, because this came with the radio, and it was already used when I got it, and I used the radio for a couple years with this tube in there. This would be the 6Q7, so I'm going to test this first, and I'll go through the rest. Alright, I've got the 6Q7 set up. First for the triode section, then I'll check the 2 diodes. So first check for shorts. And P4. That's well into the good. Alright. Now I'll try that trick of lowering the filament down as a sort of life test. So from 6.3 to 5 volts. It's dropping a bit, but still staying well into the good. Okay, now the diode test. So 0507. 0507. And this goes to 3 and 0 and 27. And press P1. That looks solid. And the other 0407. Right on the edge of good, but I don't think that would result in no audio. Oh, by the way, the air and water show is going on today, so hopefully I'll catch some more jets in this video as they go overhead. Alright, I already checked the 6A8 and 6K7, and they are also good. Seemingly, now, could have grid leakage, as I found with the 38.7 I worked on recently. But I'll keep going on with the last 2 tubes, the 6F6 and the 5V4. But it's looking to me like it's probably not the tubes. Now, if you recall, I had restored this radio a while ago, and it was working. I'd used it for, I don't know, probably a couple years, and then the audio faded away and then died altogether. So I was really thinking it was a tube. I just replaced all the resistors. The caps have all been, the film caps, old wax caps have all been replaced. So, that leaves some mica caps. So, assuming these 2 tubes test good, that's where I'm going to start hunting next, I think. Well, the last 2 tubes tested fine. However, the 6F6 I was using is one a buddy dropped off, along with the K-Part TV chassis, and some of the pins were bent. When I had this in the tester, the filament wasn't glowing at first. I had to wiggle it a bit. I'd straighten out the pins, but I'm thinking maybe it's not making good contact in the base. So, let's pop in a different 6F6 and see if it makes any difference. If not, I'm going to flip this chassis over and start doing some voltage checks. All tubes are lit. Crackle and hum out of the speaker, volume's up all the way. A little reaction down at this end of the dial. It dies. Which would seem like the local oscillator is only working at one end. I see. I gotta. This is off a little bit. I was wondering why I was able to tune past the end on this, and not all the way to the other. You can loosen up this spring clip here and adjust this so it tracks with the tuning cap, but that certainly isn't the source of my problems. Just change the band switch. Weird, on both bands I get a reaction down towards this end, which makes me feel like maybe the capacitor plates are shorting. So right there on both bands, it reacts. Curious. Alright, so I've got some things to check. I can check voltages, I can check for continuity. There should not be any continuity between the capacitor plates. And we'll take it from there. Next up, I've been doing some DC voltage checks, and fairly quickly I found a problem. And that was when I got to the 6K7. Screen should be 100 volts. And that same point is also tied to the screen on the 6A8, 100 volts. It's only measuring around 40. And that junction is right there between resistor 19 and resistor 26, the 10K and the 51K. Which is in turn tied to this 100K, which goes to right after the 5Y4 rectifier. So resistor 16, resistor 19, and resistor 26 are all in series going to ground. That forms a voltage divider, and there are taps to supply various parts of the circuit. Well, I double checked my work. So new 3-watt 10K, new 2-watt 10K, and a wire wraps around over to this guy. And at first glance that might look right. In a green we got a brown, but that is a red stripe, not an orange stripe. That's a 5.1K, not a 51K. So I have got to swap that out and get the right resistor in there. Now you might be wondering, how could such a thing happen? How could I make such a simple mistake? Well, I bought a bunch of these Vishay brown 2 and 3 watt resistors recently, and I've just started sorting them out. They each came, I bought about 10 of each value in individual plastic pouches. Well, that was awkward to paw through them all, so what I did is I broke them up into several drawers, one for values from 0 to 100 ohms, 100 ohms to 1,000 ohms, 1,000 ohms to 10,000 ohms, 10,000 ohms to 100,000 ohms, and so on. While doing so, I mixed up, apparently, a few of the reds, and with the oranges, you have to look close. They're fairly similar in color. So these all end with orange. In fact, this one is orange, orange, orange. And these are red. So, pull out a couple side by side for comparison. So, the one on the left is red, 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 and one on the right is orange, orange, orange. So, it's a fairly subtle difference, but they are different colors. So, I think the lesson learned here is to grab an ohm meter before using resistors and make sure that they are the right value before you install them. I put the proper value resistor in there and things are still off. I'm only at about 68 volts, not 100. I've also noticed this 10K 3-watt resistor, it's getting pretty darn toasty, much hotter than it should be. I wish they had labeled the voltage at this point, but I don't know what it's supposed to be. I can tell you right now it's about 150 plus volts across that resistor, which I'm pretty sure is more than it should be. So I don't want to leave this on too long, but while I've got this powered up, I also hooked up the scope to the local oscillator, and it's not running until I get occasionally a certain point on the tuning dial. It'll come to life a little bit, like right there. Frequency, it's having trouble. See if I can pick this up. 2 megahertz. Okay, that seems reasonable for the high end of the AM scale. And then if I turn away from that, it dies. Or not. No, it's still going. And I'm starting to hear something. So, I was speculating earlier there might be a shorted plate. I think that could both be the case, or a loose connection somewhere. Alright, reception. I don't even have an antenna hooked up right now, so it's not bad. Flip on a little. And we get a clip here. Okay. Ah, well, look at that. It's about 105 volts, right about where it should be. So when the local oscillator is not running, clearly it's throwing some other parts of the circuit off and they're drawing more current than they should be. And now it's died again. And we're back. Clearly, I'll have to go over the connections.
That's where the golden stroke is. That's
But
where
while it's running, I'll try to tune around the dial in.
some trees, tree claims. Wherever there was a homestead, there's trees.
So far 2 problems. Wrong resistor value and something loose somewhere.
Like all of us.
Just curious, as I go lower in frequency, the amplitude's getting higher and higher. It's probably just the nature of the oscillator circuit, but the automatic volume control, I suppose, compensates for that. It's kind of dying again. No point screwing around with that. Clearly there's something loose or shorting somewhere, so now I got the fun task of trying to find out what could be a little flake of solder or a little bit of clipped lead that's worked its way down in who knows where. Could be a bad contact at the bottom of the tube base, so I can try wiggling the tubes. Could be an issue with the variable tuning capacitor. So, in other words, lots of possibilities. I'll try the simple thing first. I'll just wiggle the tubes and proceed from there. Now, I had removed this ganged tuning capacitor so I could attach some new rubber shock mounts. I've gone over the wiring. There's 2 grounded braids on one side and 2 signal on the other. That's solid. But I noticed one of these capacitor plates looks a little bent. So right now I've got my multimeter in continuity mode. It'll beep if there's a short. Got one clip on the stationary plates and the other clip on the rotary plates. So I'm going to go through the full rotation right now, no shorts. And this is the portion of the dial where I was getting reception. Let's go the other way. There we go, short. It's right about where the plates are bent. And this is the portion of the dial, the lower end of the AM broadcast band where I lost reception. However, I don't know if that's the whole picture, because I also had to tap this a few times when I was in the portion where there is no short. But for sure, I'll start out by bending that plate such that there are no more shorts in it. here's a look from the side. And this is the plate that's bent. I may have noticed that the outer plates on these tuning caps are often grooved. That's because these were designed to be bent a little bit. I believe they would do that at the factory if they had to trim the oscillator or RF filter a little bit. One half of this is for the antenna, and the other half is for the local oscillator. Now, what will probably happen is, as I said, I unmounted this so I could replace these mounts. And I probably banged that a little bit. So, I'm just going to carefully reach in here, tweak it out a little bit, so that it's pretty uniform all the way around. Looks like this one got bent a little bit too. One next to it. Still got my meter hooked up, continuity mode. Let's give this a try. Alright, cool. I'm going to power it back up and see if I can tune through the whole dial. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's definitely the AM broadcast band. I recognize some of these stations. Pretty good reception too. I have the volume down fairly low. Plenty of volume. Now you may hear some background noise. It's nothing to do with the radio. I'm getting that on all my radios. There's something turned on in my area that's causing noise on the higher end of the broadcast band. I don't think it's anything of mine. I don't have much turned on right now, basically just some lights and my usual computers, and I tried turning those all off and it made no difference. It's probably somebody that lives right below me or somebody right next door to me. So, just pretend that isn't there. Okay, it's probably AM 1000. The dial's off a little bit.
Smartphones are the best in the world.
Deal with that later.
This is before the Forgotten Man. We're preparing for the bad days. And when we come back, Coolidge and the Boston police... Member of two Republicans yesterday have actually...
Alright, let's see if I can find WGN.
Bob has no idea I work at this station.
Actually, that's dead on, AM 720.
I have a radio. That's not the first time you've done that.
AM 720.
Who does that? What? What's it called?
Aside from the noise, it's perfect. So before I was crapping out somewhere around here when I would tune around the dial. See if I can get all the way down to WIND, AM 560. Ooh, it crapped out again. At least it, right there when it goes. Oh no, it is still working.
It's gotta hack it off. It's bloody. You know, sometimes it's not a job you want to do, but sometimes you just gotta do it.
So it's working in, but I would like to know what that horrible crunch sound is. Right there. So I'm gonna. Let me try cleaning that cap out some more and check for continuity again. Now I did already spray it out with some contact cleaner, and as we saw, I checked for continuity around there. Didn't seem to be any more shorts. It seems to be working okay, but it just sounds nasty. Alright, getting close, getting close. So I will try to find out what's making that crunch and install the tube shields and go through the alignment process, and hopefully just about done with this.